Good morning guys, and welcome back to Damo Drives, bringing real reviews to real people and answering some of those questions other channels might not talk about. If you're after a compact SUV, your choice at the moment is pretty staggering. Every manufacturer out there is bringing out more and more models for you to choose from. Now recently I reviewed the Seat Arona. Now I thought that was a really good car, it looked good, drove well, had loads of tech. But what happens if you want something like that, but maybe a bit smaller? Your option then is this car. This is a my year 2021 Seat Arona. It's actually a special edition that's just been launched, the Arona FR Red Edition. We'll go through what that means a bit later on. So what we're going to do in this video is go over, hopefully, pretty much everything you need to know to make a decision if you were going to go out and buy this car. I want to cover everything from driving experience, practicality, the technology involved, rear passenger comfort. So it's going to be a very long list of things we're going to talk about, but hopefully interesting as well. But before we get going with this video, please click on the subscribe button and notification bell so you are alerted when new videos come out. And one final bit of housekeeping: if you do happen to buy a Seat from Hendy, please make sure you speak to them and say, I watched one of Damo's videos and it's helped me make the buying decision. Well, hopefully it made you decide to buy one of these cars. So I've headed off to Brighton to drive around. I'd normally take a car maybe to some nice country roads and start going around there, but I don't think this sort of car would necessarily be down country back roads and flinging it around. It's not really designed for that. This to me is meant for city driving and doing normal things like going shopping, taking the kids to school, your everyday compact runabout car. But does that mean it's boring? Well, we'll find out later on in the video. This particular car, or the Arona I should say, is based on the Seat Ibiza. Pretty much identical, and they've increased the ride height, the length, it's a bit more practical. So in essence, imagine this as a Seat Ibiza, but on steroids slightly. Legal steroids, obviously. So we're going to have a good drive around, first of all, around Brighton, and see how I'll get on with stop starting and just general slow moving driving, because I think unfortunately it's going to spend quite a bit of time doing these sort of trips. Beautiful place to be though, so enjoy the scenery as well as trying to enjoy the car. So for me, and I've just managed to stall it, that was clever, wasn't it? So that leads me on to a nice segue. It's got a manual 5-speed box in here. I'll pretend I meant to stall the car. That's embarrassing, isn't it? So yeah, we've got a 5-speed manual, and up front we've got a 1 litre 3-cylinder 115 PS engine. This sort of engine is perfect for town driving. It's supposed to give 56 or 57 mpg on the WLTP. So pottering around towns, you don't want big engines, and only being a 3-cylinder as well, it's going to be really sipping that fuel. Start-stop technology means it's going to save even more. So when you're creeping along in traffic, it's going to cut out the engine, start it back up again. Now, very clever, not on the 1 litre, but the more powerful 155 PS 1.5, which is a 4-cylinder. It can actually do cylinder deactivation. Sounds very technical, but basically, rather than running on 4 cylinders, it will shut down 2 of them when you're driving along, say maybe on a motorway or pottering along. So it saves even more fuel. So you get more performance, but the fuel efficiency doesn't really suffer that much. For me, a really important thing about any car is how comfortable is it to drive. Now, this being the FR model, we've got the slightly sportier setup. We've got sportier seats, and also on here we've got the sport suspension. So it's going to be firmer than the SE or the Excellence models, so that will compromise the comfort ever so slightly, but it will give a better driving experience. Well, I hope in theory. But behind the wheel it's really nice. We've got adjustable tilt and rake on the steering wheel, and the seat, there's not that many adjustments. You can either go up or down, backwards or forwards, so there's nothing to change, like lumbar support and things like that. So they're okay, they're comfortable enough. I did a lot of walking yesterday. Went to Festival of Speed and did around sort of 12 miles, and my age was showing there because everything was aching this morning. So I was like, oh no, let's hope this sportier version isn't uncomfortable. But at the moment, I've got to say it's been very, very comfortable. It's just nice to potter around in. The ride I'm finding on these sort of normal town roads is fine. It's just generally quite a comfortable place to be. One of the criticisms I've read about this car was the steering, the fact it's quite light. Now, going back to one of my original points at the beginning of the video was, I think this car is going to be used in places like this, in town. And in town, you want light steering. It makes it a lot more relaxing, easier to park. You don't want heavy steering. Heavy steering is good for if you're really pushing on, if you're in a sportier car, and you want that sort of feedback from the road. But this sort of area, why on earth would I want heavy steering that's gonna end up hurting my arms and just being impractical? You just need to remember where this car is going to be used and the sort of people buying it. I don't want to make generalizations about it, but this sort of thing is going to be probably its bread and butter. If it can do this well, then that's all you need. And yes, it is a bit nondescript. You've got a bit of movement on the wheel and not a lot happens, but when you're pottering along, it's perfect. Darting in and out of traffic, even though it's got a little 1 litre turbocharged engine, there's enough poke just to get you out of gaps and nip into traffic. And that's all you really need. You don't need a massive performance engine. You know, sitting here in a V8 would be utterly, utterly pointless. We're going to be going at 20 miles an hour, and all you need to do is nip out of a gap, nip into another one, and that's about it. So a 1 litre turbocharged engine, 115 PS with a good amount of torque is, well, it's all you need. The speed limit in Brighton most of the time is 20 miles an hour. You may really get things going and get up to 30. And even when you head on to dual carriageways, which we'll do a bit later on to see what this is like at faster speeds, I think it should be absolutely fine. I mean, speed limit's 70 miles an hour. Really, you don't need any more than that for going from A to B. It's not that sort of car. In terms of noise, this car is pretty good around town. There's not much at all. I think the noisiest thing I've got at the moment is the air conditioning that's on. Well, the dual zone climate control, to be precise, that's on at the moment. So if I turn that off, that's off, and not much noise, is there? Yeah, well, if you're going to get too much noise at 9 miles an hour, then there's a problem. And then when we come to a stop, see, engine cut off. There's no noise, it's just noise of everything else around me. Gonna have to turn the air conditioning back on because it's getting quite warm again. It's actually a lovely day outside. Certainly a nimble little car, this. Very narrow, lots of traffic around here, and we're managing just to nip round things, and it's very relaxing to drive, to be honest. Not having any problems fitting through gaps. Oh, let's not run anyone over. yeah, it's just very, very busy down here, but probably what the car's designed to do. Let's go down this way to somewhere. Let's park up over on the right hand side. I've never ever parked this vehicle before. I've only put it in reverse once. So we have got parking sensors on the back, which is a good thing. Haven't got any on the front. It's not an option from the manufacturer, but you can get it as a dealer fit. I think it's about £350 if you wanted it fitted to this car. There we go, that's it. That was easy. There we go. So now we can head off. We've done the parking bit. I've managed to park it, no problem at all. So that's a big thumbs up. Would have liked front facing sensors as well, but like I said, you can get them fitted for not a lot of money. Wouldn't really cost a lot on your finance agreement to stick 350 quid extra, but I think it would make a big difference, especially if the places or the spaces, sorry, were a bit tighter. So yeah, big thumbs up. Very easy to maneuver around and even easier to park. The instrument cluster in front of me is very well laid out, very simple. Got two large analog dials showing speed and rev counter. In the middle of that there's a small black and white screen, and at the moment it's showing the sat nav directions. So one thing that's really nice, if we can see this at the moment, we've got the direction we're going to go, so I can see I'm coming up to a roundabout and there's a distance, say, of 300 yards. There's also a white bar that decreases inside the closer I get to this, in this case, the roundabout. So that will go right down. I can see I've got 150 yards. That white bar is nearly completely gone, and then I'll know that we need to go straight over at this roundabout. It's only a small thing, but it's just a useful feature to have on there, because sometimes having, you know, staring down at numbers, it's a bit, I don't know, I just find it a bit awkward at times. If you can very quickly glance down and see a white bar that's getting smaller, it makes life a bit easier and a bit safer. So what we're going to do now is where it gets really unexciting, is heading on to the A27. This will put the car through its paces a bit more on what the car's like at higher speeds, what it's like getting up to speeds, and what the road noise is like. So we're going to push on, get up to speed, and then we'll see, you know, how noisy or how quiet is this car going to be. So we're now coming on to the 27 off the slip road, and we'll accelerate hardish to get up to the national speed limit. So we're up to, there we go, 70 miles an hour, which is the speed limit here. So let's be quiet just for a minute and you can enjoy the noise or no noise of 70 mile an hour driving. There isn't a lot, to be honest. I think the thing making the noise up on the roof is my camera that's stuck up there as opposed to anything else, and I don't think many of you are going to be getting the optional extra of getting a massive camera attached to the top of your car. Bit of noise from the wing mirrors, but nothing really. I mean, that's not bad at all. The engine, even though it's a 1 litre, it's going to pull out slightly. That's doing pretty well, to be honest. I'm impressed with that. There's a lot of tech in here which you're never really going to use, which I will explain why. The Volkswagen Group, so Seat, have put a lot of time, money and research into making the cars as safe as possible. And there are a number of gadgets in here which are, well, they're to keep you safe. We've got automatic braking, so that's if the car thinks you're going to hit something ahead of you, it will warn you, and then if you don't actually slow down, it will automatically slow you down. If in the horrible case you do actually hit something and you don't brake afterwards, maybe you panic, it will again slow you down. And there's another feature which I'm not quite sure how it works, but my understanding is it monitors your driving habits, so your reaction times, etc. And if it thinks you're getting a bit tired, it will warn you and say, right, pull over, you're getting a bit sleepy, you should definitely stop and take a break. So those sort of features I think are great. Now, there are some other bits of tech which you will use on a regular basis. We've already looked at one, that was the parking sensors, a great thing to have. The other thing which on a regular basis, and I've been using it, is the cruise control. Now I'm going to very quickly go over how to turn that on, because I drive so many different manufacturers' cars that they've all got a slightly different implementation of their cruise control. So to enable it on this car, there's a stalk over on the left hand side. Use that for your indicators, but also use it to turn on the cruise control. So right at the top of the switch there's a little rocker switch, and it's either got off, cancel, or OK. So you need to move that right to the left hand side, so that will enable the cruise control. You then need to set the speed you want to be travelling at. So at the end of the same stalk there's a button with set written on it, so you press that and that will now set the speed you want to be going at. So at the moment it says 40 miles an hour, and you can press the top of the rocker switch to increase your speed. So I press that a couple of times, up to 43. If you want to go down, you just press the bottom, and that's it. So once you know where it is, it's a very simple thing to have, and definitely makes your journey a bit more relaxing. You don't want to miss the next episode, so hit the subscribe button and notification bell, because in part 2 I'll be talking about the technology, the interior and exterior, practicality, an in-depth look at the cabin, driving experience, and my final thoughts on the Seat Arona. So thanks for watching this video, and I'll catch you on the next one.